So what happens to air pollution once we breathe it in? Well, a team of researchers wanted to borrow my lungs to find out, and that's how I found myself standing next to 4 lanes of busy traffic in the freezing cold. But thankfully, I have Professor Jonathan Grigg from Queen Mary University of London for company. So Jonathan, where are we?
Well, we're in the heart of Whitechapel, and the junction of Whitechapel Road and Commercial Road, one of the busiest junctions in East London, and perhaps one of the most polluted ones.
And what kind of pollution are we talking about?
So virtually all of the stuff you're going to be breathing is small sooty particles from diesels, but also petrol cars are generating that. And as well, we're breathing in little bits of particles from tyres and brakes as they stop for the junction.
And just remind me again, why do you want me to spend some time here breathing it all in?
We're bringing here because we have used this junction as our exposure chamber, looking at whether particles that you're breathing in, or where they go to, whether the smallest particles are not only staying in your lung, but moving across into your bloodstream and going around your body.
Every so often you really get a taste of it, don't you, as well?
Yeah.
My mouth suddenly feels a bit gritty.
It's funny, isn't it?
Is that all psychological?
No, it's not psychological at all. I mean, normally when we walk up and down a main road, we don't really notice anything. But actually, occasionally when you have a smoking diesel go past you, you'll certainly taste that. And yeah, standing here, you do notice the air smells and tastes rather different. I think that's a real phenomenon.
And how long do I have to be here in order to start detecting it in my body?
We think that this happens pretty quickly. It may even happen within sort of between 10 minutes and 30 minutes.
Yeah, so 1, thank you for making me stand near a busy road. 2, thank you for doing it in the heart of winter, because my hands are firmly in my pockets today. But I suppose the point is that we might be on a really busy road and here for a while, but what you're describing there is kind of the length of time that many people, if they're walking to school or to work, or if they're getting a train, this is not that unusual an amount of air pollution.
Absolutely. And if we're within 100 metres or so of a main road, we're going to be breathing in this sort of corridor of extra pollution. So I would expect that compared to in our office, it will be at least doubled the exposure minute by minute.
Shall we head back to the lab?
Yeah, I think we've had a reasonable exposure, yeah. So we're now back in the lab, and my colleague Norris Liu, who's my clinical lecturer, and she's going to take some blood, and we'll see what we'll see.
Okay, how do we do this?
So we're going to do a capillary sample, so a finger prick from your finger after you've been standing on the busy road after a while.
And then no big needles involved?
No big needles, just a small one, but which we use in children, so hopefully you'll be okay. And then we'll put a drop of blood on a glass slide, do a smear, so kind of just spread the blood along a clear slide, and then we'll look it under the microscope to see what we see.
See what I've breathed in?
Yes.
Okay. And he said this is for children, so if I squeal or cry, then...
Then no stickers for you, I guess.
I really wanted my Spidey sticker.
So we'll just collect a few drops of blood, and then we'll do the smear. The prick coming?
Oh.
Is that okay? Feeling
I don't
right?
need to do it again.
So we've spread the drop of blood across the slicer, trying to get
One
a thin
layer of blood.
layer of blood, exactly.
Okay.
And see what you've breathed in.
I don't know why I'm suddenly worried.
We just need to walk to the other side of the lab for the bigger microscope.
So you've taken my blood, and now we're at the microscope. Shall we have a look?
Yes. Right, so you can see the red cells are kind of next to each other, and all of these are just the normal red cells.
They're just red discs.
Exactly. But every now and then you see these kind of black stuff. So see this irregularly shaped.
Yeah, it looks
really
like
black.
a smudge on the camera, really.
Unfortunately, it's not. So then there's another one here. If you can see, there's a smaller one.
Oh, but that's a quite chunky one. The first one, then.
The first one's quite
Because
chunky,
that's
yeah.
a tiny little dot on one of them, and that is almost an eighth of the size of a red blood cell.
Yeah, so that is actually quite a chunky one.
So that's air pollution.
That's air pollution, yes.
What type?
Well, it's black, so it'll be carbonaceous black carbon particulate matter, so the black stuff that you see coming out of exhaust pipes on the traffic.
And is that just in my blood, or is that stuck to the red blood cells?
They seem to like to attach on top of the blood cells, and they potentially just travel around the body in your bloodstream, being attached to blood cells.
And I'm not the only person you've done this to now, because you've actually done a proper study.
Yes, we have. So we've looked at, I think, 12 adults in London doing the exact same thing as you did, James, going onto the road, being exposed to traffic exposure, coming back and do blood tests, and we see this in every single person, even before the exposure. So everyone's got a bit of black in their blood, unfortunately, just exposed to chronic exposure.
And then how much more do they have after they, because in that study it was an hour by a busy road, wasn't it?
Yes, so the volunteers went out onto the same road that you were on for an hour, and they came back and did a blood test, and we all saw a significant rise in the amount of black carbon we see in the blood just after an hour.
Should I be worried about that?
I guess the answer is yes. I mean, these things should not be in our body. Our body's not designed to deal with it. Our lungs are maybe more designed and well equipped to deal with foreign things that we breathe in, but not so much the blood cells. And then it's a matter of what they do when they're in the bloodstream, what kind of inflammation they induce, where they travel to in the body. Are they going to other organs outside the lungs, causing problems in other organs?
And is it getting into my blood because my lungs aren't doing a good enough job of filtering it, or is it just there's so much air pollution that it'd be impossible to keep all of it out? What's going on?
It's probably a mixture of both. So in our lungs we have immune cells called macrophages. They're designed to kind of gobble up and eat up anything that our body doesn't want, so like bacteria, viruses, pollution particles, but there's only so much that these cells can do. So if they're a bit overwhelmed, if there's so much pollution around that they can only do so much, then you get some remnants kind of left over in the lungs. But at the same time, tiny particles, so that little dot that we just saw there, that's very, very nano-sized particles. So they might just escape these kind of immune cells in the lungs and seep through into the circulation that way, just because our cells didn't really manage to catch them in the lungs.
And do we know where it's going?
We know they're travelling around the circulation if we see it in the blood, but we have also previously done a study on healthy pregnant women delivering healthy babies, and we looked at these supposedly healthy placentas, and placentas obviously are meant to be quite sterile until the baby's born, and we see the same particles in these immune cells in the placenta. So we know that they're travelling around the circulations and they're ending up in certain organs, so there's no reason why it's choosing one organ over another, so chances are they're probably everywhere in the body.
The thing about blood is it goes everywhere.
Exactly.
Do we know that it's actually damaging the body?
There are lots and lots of studies showing associations between pollution exposure to kind of organ damage. So you get heart disease, brain problems like Alzheimer's, and cognitive dysfunction in older people, but also in children, can affect your pancreas. So we know that there's association. It's just how these effects occur. It has been quite unclear until now. So one school of thought currently is these particles are travelling and depositing on the organs and causing inflammation the way you would in the airway when you breathe it in. People with asthma can get asthma exacerbation. So potentially these particles depositing on the brain or the heart can also cause inflammation locally as well.
It's not just my blood that looks like that, your blood looks like that too.
Yes. Right. Yeah, everyone's blood looks like that.
How does that make you feel?
It's a bit upsetting to see that, isn't it? It was a surprise when we saw that, but you just feel like you just don't want to be out on the road much, do you? Every time I walk by a busy road now, I'm thinking how much of this is travelling around my body. So yeah.
Jonathan, you're still here with us. Why is it helpful to know that this air pollution gets through the lungs and then is in the blood and on the surface of red blood cells?
Well, for the first time anyone has seen this, it explains the sort of mechanism of the link between breathing in particles and effects in distant organs. It opens up sort of a new area about, well, what are these particles doing actually to the red cells? Are they causing them injury? And we can potentially use this as a tool to look at ways of reducing exposure. So in our paper we showed that if you wore a FFP2 mask, you got less particles when you stood by a road than if you didn't.
That's quite a substantial mask though, isn't it, for day-to-day wear? I mean, you're not talking like one of those flimsy cloth ones that we all had. But are we suggesting that actually a lot more people should be wearing them not for disease but because of air pollution?
Well, to ask that question of whether a mask reduces the amount of particles in your blood, and the answer is it does. That halves the amount. We're not saying that everyone should wear a mask, but there's certainly some individuals who are vulnerable. For example, if you're, let's say, recovering from a heart attack or have chronic respiratory disease in areas which are high pollution, our data would suggest that wearing an FFP2 mask, not just a surgical mask, certainly has an effect in reducing the number of particles in your bloodstream.
How important a piece of the puzzle of what air pollution is doing to all of us? How useful a piece of the puzzle is it?
Well, I think the more we understand the mechanisms of how it can cause effects, the more we can add to the pressure for policymakers to reduce exposure, because that's the answer in the end. And also then other questions are, is it specific to traffic? And what about particles from other sources such as wood smoke and other sources of combustion? We don't know yet whether we can see the same effect if you stand by a barbecue or whatever.
What's most people's reaction when they see it? Because I feel a bit contaminated.
To tell the truth, when we started this, we didn't know what we would find, and I must say I was pretty shocked to see that. I really didn't think that we would actually physically see these spots in just a smear. Don't forget,
it took you no time to find them.
No time to find it, and we have billions of cells in our body, so that means a lot of particles travelling around your body.
Thanks so much for having me in. You're listening to Inside Health with me, James Gallagher.